I think the right has really serious problems with the way that they're thinking about economic policy right now. But if you look at the left, what they are essentially advocating for over the last several years is something that resembles a kind of low-tax socialism. Okay, it's not exactly socialism, but it is very influenced by the way that the Nordic countries that are the closest things that we have to kind of social democracies, it's very influenced by the way that they organize their welfare states. But it's not at all influenced by the way that they set up their tax systems, which rely on much higher tax rates for the middle class. And the left wants to have the spending levels of the Nordic countries without the tax rates. And that just doesn't add up, and it doesn't make sense. And it is a kind of policy nihilism that you see on the center left right now.
Yeah, and I agree with that. And what gives that cover, because that is essentially what Kamala Harris is talking about. She wants to spend a lot more and raise taxes in very complicated, stupid ways a little bit more. Nobody who looks at her plan says, oh, she's covering the new spending with new tax increases. But what gives cover to that mentality is the absolute bullshit on the right, where they're just like, no, well, you know what? When you cut taxes, you get more revenue. So we can cut taxes to zero and get more tax revenue than ever. And that means that we can spend a bunch of money on complete fucking horseshit. So,
Katherine, let's give some equal time to the anarchists, taxation is theft crowd here, meaning you. Is Donald Trump the clear anti-theft candidate in this case?
I think actually in this case, the thing that comes to my mind over and over in this election cycle is taxation is also bullying. And so many of these proposed changes are just trying to get people to act different. They're trying to get people to make different choices than they currently make. Now, to be clear, the status quo is a nightmarish labyrinth of bizarre incentives on all kinds of behaviors, including the mortgage interest rate deduction, which pushes people to buy houses, including, to the extent that it works, the child tax credits, which push people to have kids. There's like many, many places. Obviously, the way that people allocate their assets is hugely determined by the tax code. And that's unavoidable as long as there are taxes at all. But so many of the current brain fart proposals from both candidates are actually about changing people's behavior and will change people's behavior in ways that they don't want to admit. So, for example, the no taxes on tips thing. Do you want to tip everyone in your life? Because that's what's going to happen. If we actually did no taxes on tips, which we won't, it'd be like, tip your tax accountant, tip your dentist, tip everyone. Because, of course,
you know what, Katherine, some of us who live in Brooklyn
already do tip all those
people. Matt, who's living the next year as Frank Sinatra for a book project, you've been tipping everybody.
Absolutely horrible. This is a thing that people explicitly complain about, the fact that we've shifted into a culture where more of certain classes of service workers rely on tips in ways that are, suboptimal for consumers. This will shove us all the way in that direction. Interest on car loans? Oh, gee, what do you think is going to happen? You think people will just continue with super reasonable car purchases where they, price the interest into their family budget? I don't think so. And that's before you even get into the corporate tax rate stuff, which of course has a much bigger impact on the economy. So yes, taxation is theft, but more importantly, in this election cycle, taxation is bullying. This is the federal government putting its thumbs on every scale about how you live your life.
That was a clip from the latest Reason Roundtable. If you want to see more clips, go here. If you want to see the whole episode, go here. Make sure to subscribe at Reason's YouTube channel or wherever you listen to podcasts. Thanks for listening, watching, or both.